In the distant past, long before memories of dinosaurs could emerge, we embarked on an extraordinary journey through time, where every second seemed to pulse with the mystery of creation. Upon entering this remote universe, our senses were immediately flooded by a scenario that defied modern understanding. The air, rarefied and loaded with carbon dioxide that far exceeded the standards we know, created an atmosphere so distinct that each breath seemed like an invitation to adventure. With oxygen masks firmly fitted, the time machine transported us to a world where tropical heat dominated and where the sun shone brightly over vast expanses of land and water. Floating above the surface, the panoramic view revealed colossal continents coming together in surprising shapes. There was an immense continental mass reminiscent of Gondwana that extended across the southern hemisphere, while other smaller and scattered portions of the Earth lined the equatorial region. The landscape was a vibrant mosaic of colors and shapes, where warm, shallow oceans harbored unique reefs, carved not by trees, but by primordial organisms like cyanobacteria and stromatoporoids, whose existence dated back to unexplored eras. As we descended towards the sea, we were greeted by a spectacle of aquatic life that seemed to have come out of an old dream. Among the waters, creatures of surprising proportions, such as sea scorpions and fish of varying shapes, glided with primitive elegance, reminding us that, at that time, the challenges of the environment were constant and merciless. As the immensity of the ocean unfolded before us, the transition to the terrestrial environment proved equally fascinating. In a land that was still in formation, the first signs of life on solid ground appeared timidly. The forests were not at all like those we know today. These were vast swamps where pteridophytes and lycopodia reigned supreme, spreading spores everywhere and announcing the beginning of an unprecedented evolutionary explosion. The scene was punctuated by the presence of small insects and arthropods, which, although tiny, played crucial roles in building an ecosystem that would slowly become increasingly complex. Amid this constantly changing environment, our steps took us to a meandering watercourse, where a singular phenomenon caught our attention. There, on the banks of a river that unfolded towards the sea, we found one of the first amphibians to dare to cross between water and land. This creature, with its small legs adapted more for flippers than for terrestrial locomotion, displayed the courage to explore unknown territories, even if its movements revealed the uncertainty of a transition still underway. His gaze, imbued with silent determination, meant that each step towards the unknown became a historic milestone, a prelude to evolution that, over the millennia, would give rise to much more sophisticated forms of life. As we walked through the dense forests and vibrant swamps, each element of that scenery told us a story of survival and adaptation. The shadows of prehistoric trees intertwined with the tireless light of the sun, creating an environment where the sound of rushing waters and the rustling of spores combined to form a unique natural symphony. In every submerged reef, in every rock, and in every plant that sprouted from the damp soil, we felt the pulsating energy of an earth in transformation. The delicate balance between the beings that inhabited the water and those that were beginning to conquer dry land was evident and made us reflect on the persistence of life in the face of adversity. As the journey continued, the marine environment continued to surprise us. Among the reefs, the dance of sea creatures revealed stories of predators and prey, where each movement was a choreography of instinct and survival. Giants of the sea, with bodies that defied the imagination, glided silently, while groups of primitive fish, with their elongated and mysterious shapes, competed for space and food. These beings, distant ancestors of modern sharks, demonstrated a strength and resilience that echoed the grandeur of a time when the balance of nature was constantly re-evaluated. Leaving behind the waters that held secrets from past eras, our eyes turned to dry land, where vegetation emerged with undeniable strength. The soil, initially desolate and inhospitable, began to be colonized by a diversity of plants that transformed the landscape. Amid the exuberance of the swamps, the first signs of primordial forests slowly appeared, a harbinger of a future where nature would reach new heights. Each leaf, each stem, carried within it the hope of an evolution that would shape the destiny of the planet. Tiny, flying and crawling insects circled around these plants, establishing an intimate connection with their environment and contributing to the complex web of life. With each new step, the feeling of being immersed in an epic tale intensified. It was as if we were witnessing the birth of a world, where time and space were intertwined in a continuous narrative of discoveries and challenges. The time machine, silent and reliable, had given us not only a physical journey, but also a deep reflection on the origins of life and the forces that shaped the Earth. As we said goodbye to that singular scenario, we carried with us the certainty that the history of humanity is, ultimately, a small part of a much larger saga, where each era, each period, is a chapter full of lessons, emotions, and transformations. We return to the present with heightened senses and a mind full of new perceptions, aware that what we witnessed was just a fraction of the immensity that time holds. The journey through the Devonian taught us that despite harsh conditions and constant challenges, life always finds a way to flourish, adapting and reinventing itself in surprising ways. With our hearts filled with gratitude and our souls inspired by every detail of this adventure, we move forward, knowing that the past, with all its complexity, continues to offer us clues about the future. Every moment lived in that remote era was a celebration of the tenacity of life and an invitation to continue exploring the deepest and most enigmatic corners of existence. Thus, we close this chapter, but with the firm conviction that the story never ends. It is renewed with every breath, with every discovery, and challenges us to look at the unknown with courage and admiration, ready for new journeys that reveal, in all their magnitude, the true essence of being and the universe.